Hello and welcome to another episode of Video Game Logic. Today's episode was recorded on September the 17th, 2024. I'm your host, gaming psychologist, and back with me from more or less the dead.
What?
I was going to say, I don't know if I lost you
Rage?
or if you were just being quiet on purpose.
No, I was going, nah.
Oh, I think your noise gate caught that because I didn't hear it.
Well, Audacity did.
Right. Anyways, on today's show, we explain why we were gone for so long. We cover our August game club, which was Lollipop Chainsaw. We tell you about the next game club, spoilers, Fallout 76. And we're going to talk a little bit about the old school mobile smash hit Flappy Bird returning later this year. Timestamps will be in the show notes following their respective topics. Hello, Rage.
Hello.
Where have you been? Where have I been?
It's not all been my fault.
Oh no, it's definitely not all your fault. I think most of my blame is with Spectrum, but we'll get there.
Basically, my schedule has been completely fucking bonkers the last month or so. And I wasn't getting Tuesday nights at all. So we finally figured out, okay, well, Thursday night could be a backup. And then suddenly I get where I can stay up late and I don't have to wake up at 5 fucking a.m. to go to work. I mean, well, okay, technically I don't have to wake up at 5:45, but Anita gets up at 5:45, and I wouldn't get much sleep beyond that. So, all right.
Right. For me, it's been a little bit of a combination of like, you haven't been able to record, and we weren't either able to or weren't looking at, depending on the week, other nights for options. And then the last 2 weeks, we were like, okay, we're going to do it on Thursday. It'll be fine. Spectrum has outages that last, God,
weeks.
So long. 2 weeks ago, sitting at work, I get a text message. It's like, your area is in a service outage. It's expected to last until 5 o'clock or whatever, 5 p.m. So I took a screenshot and sent that to you and was like, I don't remember what I said. Something along the lines of like, you know, surely to God, this will be resolved, right? I expected them to be late. They're never actually resolved when they say they are. But I'm like, yeah, you know, this should be resolved by, you know, the time we go to record. No, the outage persisted until 11:30, 11:45 that night. Like the internet came back as I was like climbing in bed. It's like, well, we're not today. Then last week, we go to record.
I believe, hang on, this was, no, that was this last week, sorry.
Yeah. So last week, we go to record, and I get through work, you know, the whole day, you know, we confirmed everything's good. I get home, I lay down on my bed, like, okay, I'm going to decompress for a little bit, and then I'm going to go cook dinner, because I cook dinner on Thursday nights. And then, you know, I'll take a shower and then we'll be ready. And I notice my phone has got the little icon that means that it's like not getting internet, because it'll have like the Wi-Fi symbol and then it's got like a exclamation point next to it, like, oh no. So I check the app on my phone. It's called Tether for my home network, and no internet connection. So I disconnect from the network so I can use my mobile data, log into the My Spectrum app. And it's like, you're in and out, or like, you're in a service area that's affected by Hurricane, whatever.
Francine.
Hurricane Francine. You may currently be experiencing...
I'm looking at the conversation.
Yeah. It's like, you may currently be experiencing an outage. But there was no ETA for when the events would be resolved.
Yeah, your comment for this one. I'm going to lose my fucking mind.
I'm losing my fucking mind. It's like it felt like God didn't want us to record. I don't believe in God, but maybe this is him punishing me for my hubris. So the internet was out until I was at work the next day. I got a notification at like 11:30 that was like, your service has been restored. And then there was an outage. There was an outage this morning. I'm at work. It's 8:30. So, you know, I get the notification, comes through on the app because I'm connected to the internet instead of the network.
I hate them so much.
Yeah. So we get an outage this morning. It was resolved by like 11:30, and it's working because we're talking right now. But
Or are we?
maybe it's still like, 8:30, 8:45. I have been living in a fever dream after I like had an aneurysm. These are my death throes. God, Spectrum sucks so much. I don't know what their deal is right now. They did.
It's called a monopoly.
So AT&T like sent flyers to everybody. Like AT&T is offering their what is it? No, I was gonna say Xfinity, but that's Comcast. Whatever AT&T's high-speed internet service is, we got flyers, and then like 2 weeks later, I get a notification from Spectrum that's like, "Good news, we're increasing your the speed of your service at no extra charge to you." And like, there's like a long bullshit message about how they've been working diligently to improve services in the area, and I'm like, "Fuck off." Although now Spectrum is offering gigabit internet in my area, and I want it. I really do. But number one, I don't want to pay Spectrum another dime of my money. But number two, after having lived with 10 people in this house for like 3 years, we really don't need it. Like, as the one who is the master of the Wi-Fi and the only one who knows anything about networking in this house, I have got all of my stuff set as like priority one. So if any of my computers or my phone wants to pull down all of the data, it gets all of the data. So like, I've got 600 megabits down right now, and normally when I'll do a speed test, it'll give me like 650 or 700. So like, gigabit is more, but at the moment I don't think I need it. And I can't believe I'm saying that, because like, that was like the holy grail for so long.
Mm-hmm.
But, is what it is. The reality of living here is not that I need gigabit. So anyways, that's my reasons for not being here the last couple of weeks. Spectrum sucks.
Yeah, and for me, it's just my schedule has not allowed it, especially since I'm pretty much daytimes only now.
Yeah.
But hey, I'm also up to 40 hours a week now.
Yay.
And actually 40 plus, because I usually am in slightly early and I never get out exactly on time.
Yeah.
And 2 times on this pay cycle, I got trapped at Chicken Hut.
Yeah.
For an hour plus each time. Basically, they didn't have a dedicated cook on evening shift.
Yeah.
And got absolutely slammed. And I'm not the type of guy that would bail on the other shift just because it's like, oh, not my problem. That's not right.
Yeah.
Future Be's gonna fucking love this paycheck. And I get a pay boost with my promotion, and I was starting to hit the pay cap as well. So it's gonna be nicer.
Yeah.
But I was just trying to do my fucking job. It turns out sometimes that actually works.
Right. Sometimes just doing your job and being competent enough at it when everyone around you.
Yeah, I've been cursed with mild competence.
Mild incompetence and a sexy, sexy voice. Wow.
Bad touch.
Making me swoon over here.
Bad touch.
So yeah, Gameclub, that thing that we do.
Yeah.
You want to do that thing?
Occasionally, right?
Yeah. So the Gameclub for August, I almost said October. The Gameclub for August was Lollipop Chainsaw. We played this.
Hang on, real quick. Let me check the calendar here. Yeah. It's not August.
No, it's September.
Matter of fact, we would be due to do another Game Club next week.
Right. I mean, just go ahead and say we're gonna skip September.
Yeah. Basically, Lollipop Chainsaw consumed September because neither of us could record for various reasons.
Yeah. So we've got Lollipop Chainsaw serving as the connection point between August and October, I guess. So, but yeah, Lollipop Chainsaw, a game that we played. It is some game. We played it via emulation.
Yeah, because well, when we originally picked it, well, I I have a tendency to put oddball games in my pick list, partly as like yeah, well, this will be interesting, or yeah, I've been poking around with this. I'll put this on the list just to see how it is. And Lollipop Chainsaw was me setting up my PS3 emulator on my Steam Deck.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, yeah, I'll throw this in as like a curveball because there's only so many games that we have in common. So throw in some odd ones to spice things up. And you seemed interested in it.
Yeah, so I have played Lollipop Chainsaw before. I played it on Xbox 360 in like, oh, I don't remember when Lollipop Chainsaw came out. 2010, 2011, something like that. Hang on, to the Google Lollipop Chainsaw release date. The original June 12th, 2012. So that's when I played that, was 2012, maybe 2013. But like, it's been over 10 years ago. I heard some stuff about it on probably at the time co-optional or
Yeah,
the old Podtoid.
I
which
remember
was
it was like this beloved PS3 like hidden gem.
yeah.
So that's why I wanted to try it out.
Yeah. So I played it back then and I have vague memories of it from that time. So I was like, yeah, absolutely. I'm all for like replaying something I haven't seen in forever just to kind of like see how it holds up, see what I remember that was accurate, see how it compares to modern games. And it kind of lined up with the fact that they have the Repop edition,
Yeah,
which
just
is a
by
remaster.
complete serendipity, by the way.
Yeah, like genuinely like totally random. And that releases the 25th of September. So next Wednesday, I guess, if you like us talking about this enough that you want to play it, but you don't want to set up a PS3 emulator, then you
Which
can
is
buy.
a little bit more involved than previous generations.
Yeah.
Not so much, but a bit.
I guess let's start there. Before we even talk about the game, what emulator did you use?
I used no, great. Now I need to sit and think about it for a moment. I'm having to go looking at EmuDeck because that's kind of like the all-in-one solution.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and talk about yours while I search this because for me it worked fairly well. There was a little bit of audio sync, but that was about it.
Yeah. So I hoped so. Initially, I was like, you know what? I love.
RPC S3. Sorry.
Oh, so we used the same one. So
Yeah.
originally, like I've used the PCSX 1 and 2 emulators for PS1 and PS2 games respectively, and I really love that platform and how involved how granular you can get with the options, but how user friendly it is. They do not have a PCSX3. So I then was just like PS3 emulator, and RPC S3 is the first one that like pops up if you Google that. So that's the one that I used as well.
Yeah. I'm pretty much I have it set up on my PC, but pretty much just played through the Steam Deck.
Mm-hmm.
Had a couple audio hiccups here and there where, especially during cutscenes, you could tell that the audio had desynced a little bit. But gameplay wise, it was fine. I did lock the frame rate to, I think, 40, which is a happy medium between 30 and 60. I know it's not the middle, but where it's not choppy, but also smoother than 30.
Yeah.
Basically to try to get some better battery life because oh boy, if you let it go, it drains the Steam Deck battery, but also try to make it so whenever the frame rate does dip, it's not as noticeable because it's already lower,
Yeah. I mean, really, like, I just used an emulator on my PC. That's pretty standard. I had a couple, like, issues getting some settings dialed in because my hardware specs, like I've got a very old processor at this point. So 4 cores, 8 threads on one of the very, like an old i7. And I don't, it's like, there was some issue there and caused me some weird, like, artifacting. I had to mess with the settings a little bit to like smooth it out. I had audio desync a couple of times. I think that's pretty standard in a lot of emulator stuff. Like, that's just par for the course if you're going to use the emulator.
Well, for me, it was only during the cutscenes.
Okay. Yeah, I had some audio desync during gameplay, but it was like pretty sporadic, so I couldn't quite nail it down, and it wasn't enough that it like really bothered me. I did have to lock my frame rate to 30 FPS. I also had some weird issues if the frame rate went over that. And like I say weird issues, it would like just get super duper like laggy. The frame rate would push up to anytime it would hit 35 or higher, it would just the frame rate would say that it was at 45, 50, 60 FPS, but it would be like slideshow performance with audio desync. So something weird was going on. But once I limited my frame rate to 30 FPS, that seemed to fix it. But your experience playing an emulator on the Steam Deck, like that potentially is got more talking points than Lollipop Chainsaw.
For me, once I got the emulator set up, it worked fairly well just out of the box.
Okay.
The Steam Deck, I was using the OS options to lock the frame rate.
Yeah.
So instead of going through the emulator, I would use the essentially the VSync on the Steam Deck OS level to limit that there, and I was able to dial in a bit of battery life. I would get 2.5 hours of full time or full gameplay.
Yeah.
Which considering this is a PS3 game,
yeah,
that's actually kind of impressive. I was using EmuDeck, like I said, which does set up a lot of things on the back end. And the main sticking point for me was I didn't realize I had to download. Rip the BIOS out of my totally legitimate and existing PS3.
Right, of course. Yeah. No, I pirated the shit out of that. I'm not even going to pretend. PS3 was when I stopped buying PlayStations. Like, I did not have a PS3. Like, I mean, I've always pirated my BIOSes. Like, fucking come get me, feds. You don't scare me. Like, but I did legitimately own an original PS1 and a PS2 and every Xbox console and every Nintendo console. I've legitimately owned all of them, but I have not owned a PS3, 4, or 5. So I can't even say like, oh, I owned one. I purchased one.
Yeah, PS2 era was the kind of the end of consoles for me. So that was also kind of the other reason why I wanted to try some emulation.
Yeah.
Was, this is kind of new waters. But the thing is that PS3 is when games started getting fucking huge.
Yeah. So this was a pretty good. So I did try a couple other games on the emulator, and Lollipop Chainsaw, I will say, was the one that ran the best for whatever reason. I tried to play Gran Turismo 5, and that, slight diversion here. I did try to play Gran Turismo 5, and it had issues. It just, like, the audio was permanently desynced from the video, and then there were, like, weird input lag. There's weird input lag. And then I tried to play Armored Core. One of the Armored Core games. And it just was fucked up. It just did not run. It would not go over like 14 frames a second no matter what I did to any of the settings. And I'm like, this has to be just like an issue with like compatibility or something. Like this game is not this demanding.
Did you look at the compatibility list at all?
I did. It was in the yellow column. Gran Turismo was in the green column. So I'm not sure what happened there, and I didn't really spend more time investigating it. And then, the Armored Core was in the yellow column, so I knew I was kind of rolling the dice on that one. But I have considered genuinely just buying like a PS3 or a PS4, going through and like, opening it up and checking the thermal paste and cleaning it up and stuff, and then just having that console to play at this point what would be considered retro games because they're, you know, 10 plus years old, a lot of them, most of them. So, which that feels weird to think about.
Yeah, well, here's the thing: is that the compatibility list, pretty much the only thing that you want to mess with is green. Any of the yellow is going to be game breaking at some point.
Right. Well, I couldn't even get past the training or the tutorial mission before, with the game having issues. So that point was pretty early on.
Yeah, for me, I fired up the Steam Deck. Do I have the right SD card in? I have Lollipop Chainsaw, Spider-Man, Shattered Dimensions, and oh no, that was PSP. Folklore and Dante's Inferno installed. Dante's Inferno is the worst running one out of them.
Yeah.
But overall, yeah. Well, once again, I'm using essentially presets.
Yeah.
That's designed for this hardware. So I'm probably getting a lot of heavy lifting done for me.
By the community, you mean, or by the
by the community.
Nice. No shame in that, my friend. I wish I had the heavy lifting of the community behind me. But, that's like we already said, that's kind of the territory you get into with emulation if you're, lots of times there's lots of stuff that just works straight out of the box, right? Especially for like really old stuff. But PS3 and Xbox 360 is like this weird era of emulation, or maybe not weird, but just this like not fully conquered era yet. And then PS4, I don't know if there is a PS4 emulator. There might be, but there's definitely not one for Xbox One. That is called PC. Just your PC is your Xbox One emulator. But now, dear listener, you may be wondering why we've spent all of this time talking about stuff that is not Lollipop Chainsaw. And while you and I, Rage, have not fully conferred upon this, I get the impression that we don't have as much to say about this game as one might think, based on how much of a darling this game was back in the day.
I think the problem with this is Lollipop Chainsaw is essentially a parody game of the state of hack and slash games back, when it was released. And parody or satire, or however you want to look at it, tends to fall into two camps. All right. There's the parody games, movies, shows, whatever, that can stand on its own without knowing the source material. Lollipop Chainsaw requires a lot more knowledge, at least on my part, to be able to understand how brilliant it is for the way it handles itself.
Okay.
Where, the parody, I get the whole parody of, sexy, kind of airhead stereotype. It's actually secret badass and is probably the smartest one in the cast. But at the same time, looking back at it, it doesn't feel like it holds up,
Yeah.
It feels like this trope has been played out. And that's partly, the physics problem, or the physics puzzle problem from Half-Life, where it was revolutionary at the time, but now it's basic.
Here's the thing is, though, is I don't think Lollipop Chainsaw was revolutionary at the time, because what I remembered of Lollipop Chainsaw was sexy lady in a cheerleading outfit who's barely legal kills zombies in a sexy way for 10 hours.
But don't elude the cheerleader here. Now I have a very long cutscene of her in the shower and looking at her through the semi-transparent shower curtain, right?
Yep.
It just doesn't feel like it aged as well,
No, I don't think it aged well at all. The gameplay, well, actually, okay, hang on. I agree with you. I think that the game might have been special enough at the time that that's why it's got its sort of darling status. It might have been, I don't want to say groundbreaking. I feel like there were plenty of satirical games at the time.
Well, I was being a little bit facetious on saying groundbreaking, but you know what I mean.
Sure, yeah. But, like, you know, there were plenty of satirical games at the time. And there were plenty of games, like, I think this sort of, like, silly sort of hack and slash combat had a period where that it was more rare, but it's very common now. It's very common in the indie space. So all of the things that, like, I remember people being like, oh, it's great, it's got this, it's got that. You know, the combat's fun and silly and wacky, and there's this parody, and it's the sexy cheerleader, and she's kind of dumb, but actually, like you said, like, she's the smartest one in the room. And her boyfriend is like the helpless guy. Like, he tries to come save her and be cool, but he's actually the helpless guy. Like, all of that stuff is very old and played out and a lot more common these days. And even then, I think it was more common than we give it credit for. So yeah, all of the stuff that I remember it, like, quote unquote, standing out for, it doesn't actually stand out for. So that's my opinion on that. I did not hate my time with it. The gameplay is fine. It's repetitive, but that's the kind of game that it is. Some of the jokes are funny. A lot of them, I didn't get, like, at this point in my life. Like, you know, I'm missing the context for them, or the humor just doesn't land with me anymore. I've aged out of them. And in terms of, like, you know, ogling the cute girlies or whatever, like, I'm a man in my 30s now. Like, I have seen so many things at this point that I'm like, okay, sure. It's like, honestly, I'm like looking at this, I'm like, you're 18, girl. What are you doing? Stop it. Like, not in like a prudish way. Like, I'm not like, I don't give a shit about that, but it's like, come on, I'm old and you're young. What is this crap? Like, I just don't find it attractive in the same way that, you know, 10, 12 years ago, Jared was like ogling at the cute girly. So those are my feelings on that aspect of it. You, as the gameplay person, I think you've played more games in this vein than me. What did you think about that?
It felt
what did you think about the gameplay?
So simplistic. You know,
okay.
I did not get very far in it because I just honestly felt bored.
Okay.
And I think part of it is that it really wanted you to just kind of just spam the same move over and over again until you got to the special event where, you know, you got, you know, the name zombie that you can one shot if you build up the special meter, right?
Yeah.
And I just found myself getting bored. And part of this is the trappings of older style video games where they have the kill count that here's the number of zombies that you have to kill while waiting for this door to be unlocked. Here, we're going to trap you in this room with these zombies. Here's another counter. And it just kind of highlighted just how much time it was wasting for me.
Sure.
It did get more interesting on the second level. I only got to the second level on this. Mind you, Lollipop Chainsaw is a short game.
Yeah, it's how long to beat? It's like 9-10 hours. You can do a completionist run that might take you a little longer, especially if you miss saving some of the kids on your playthrough.
Yeah, which is really not necessary anyway. But
no,
whenever
it just
you got
changes
like
the ending a little
the
bit.
chainsaw dash, where you know it basically you're running forward like crazy with the chainsaw. It was a little bit more interesting, but you know, two back-to-back levels, they used the same gimmick for the zombie basketball, and yeah, that was starting to really show just that they weren't going to expand upon things very much. And once they got to zombie baseball, and with the god-awful auto-aim, where I just gave up because I got too frustrated with it.
Okay. Well, I mean, you didn't miss much. They, you know, variations of the same mechanic exist throughout the entire game, and it's just like the mechanic stays the same, and they change like the visual, you know, trappings of it so that it looks a little different.
Hmm.
The game is repetitive and
I mean,
pretty simplistic.
I kind of expected, yeah, they're not going to be changing much as soon as they saw that.
Yeah, the game is pretty simplistic and repetitive. Absolutely. Um, for me, as someone who doesn't play as many of these kinds of games, that part didn't bother me. Um, I did not finish the game. I played it 4 or 5 hours and was like, okay, this is good enough. I remember enough about the game from before to be able to talk about that if we need to. I mean, the gist of the game is that you are the daughter of a secret sect of like undead, like zombie hunters. And you have to, in order to revive your boyfriend or get his body back. His name is Nick. And in order to get his body back, like at the start of the game, he protects you from being bit by a zombie. And in order to save him, you like cut his head off and magically like put it inside this collar that keeps him alive. And you're trying to get his zombie body back to put his head back on his body and cure him of being a zombie.
Hmm.
That's the impetus for the whole game. And you go on this adventure across however many levels it is to literally like go to hell and get his body back. And if you rescue all of the other students from your high school, you get like the good ending where then everyone's happy at the party. You get his body back. And I think it's your mom is like there and happy and safe. And if you don't get all of the kids back, you still get Nick's body back at the end of the game, but your mom is turned into a zombie. And it's like, oh no, she's a zombie for the sequel, which never happened.
Hmm.
But it's like, your family is this like group of zombie hunters. So it's like actually like, oh yeah, no, I have to learn the ways of the chainsaw so that I can kill the zombies and regain my powers or whatever. And like that's it. That's the story. And there every level is some kind of like gag or joke or full of like high school relevant, quote unquote relevant high school humor from like the 2000s or movie references to older zombie movies and stuff. Um I guess if you like that kind of thing, like sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Like I like a lot of like sci-fi B movie schlock, not so much horror B movie schlock. So maybe if you're into a lot more sort of horror, B movie horror, more of these references might land with you. But also they might not because they're references that were made like 12 years ago.
Hmm.
Longer, I guess, because it would have been, during the development period in 2009, 2010, 2011. So at least 12 years ago humor, but maybe even farther back. So it might not even land with you at this point. But I mean, that's it. That's literally, like, sure, you could go through a synopsis of every single level, but they all are basically the same. Get from point A to point B, solve a couple of environmental, like massive sarcasm quotes, puzzles, fight a ton of zombies, and look up your sexy cheerleading skirt a whole bunch while you do it. I can see the appeal. I can to a certain group of people, but for the most part, it didn't land with me. Either it didn't hold up or it was like never as good as people thought it was, or maybe we're just old. But that's how I feel about Lollipop Chainsaw.
Well, sorry I ruined another game for you.
I didn't like listen, my memory of this game was not like, oh my god, it's amazing. It's just like, yeah, I remember playing that. I had fun with it, like, a decade ago. And I will be clear, like, just because something doesn't hold up now doesn't like change the fact that I or anybody else had fun with this game. Like, if you, dear listener, happened to play this game while you were waiting for us, or have played this game in the past and liked it, like, I'm not saying that you're wrong and that you shouldn't like it. Like, if you had fun with it, that's good. There was a time in my life where I had fun with it, and I don't feel bad about that. It's just I'm not there anymore. I'm not that person in anymore. So, take that with a grain of salt. I mean, on sort of a letter grade scale, this is like I don't know, a C plus.
I think I could agree with that one. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not offensively bad. It just feels more simplistic. And part of
yeah,
it is just the old game design.
yeah. So that's that Lollipop Chainsaw. It's something you can play if you want to. Um, pretty quick Pretty quick, pretty straightforward game club.
Mm.
That's what, a tight 15, 20 minutes?
Yeah.
That might be a new record for fastest game club.
Well, shall we move on to the next one?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So our next game club, we originally were going to play for September. But because of how the recording schedule has worked out for us, we just decided to move it to Spoopy Month, because there's no scarier game than a Bethesda game where you can't use mods to fix how broken it is.
Hey,
That's
stop
right.
stealing my line.
It was a good line. That's right, though. We're playing Fallout 76 for the next game club.
Yeah, where the bombs fell and did billions of dollars of improvement to West Virginia.
Hi-yo. So, yeah. There you go.
Yeah, have you played any of it yet?
Nope. Not a second. I don't even have it installed. Which, I guess it's a good thing that we decided that, because if we were like, you know what, we're going to press forward and do it next week, I would be fucked.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a small game.
No.
Especially since it's... MMO feels like a generous term for this, but live service game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you might want to start downloading it and leave it overnight.
An MMLS, massively multiplayer live service. Well, an MLS, a multiplayer live service. But yeah, I need to download it and start playing it. I mean, to be clear, I would have powered through a dozen or 2 hours to get my feet wet in the actual gameplay mechanics. I feel like I could talk about Fallout 76 to a certain extent now, based on both the amount of news coverage that we've participated in over the years on this game.
Yeah,
plus
it is different than when it released. I'll say that much so far.
Yeah, plus a 6-hour YouTube deep dive from a YouTuber I watch and have talked about before some of his stuff. He's the guy that did the 8-hour Morrowind, 12-hour Oblivion, and 20-hour Skyrim videos. He also did an 8-hour video for Starfield. He was not happy for those 8 hours. He was like, looky here, you little shits. I did this because you all give me Patreon money so that I can do this instead of having to work so many hours at another job. So you wanted it, I'm going to give it to you, but I'm not happy about it. Kind of makes me want to go back and rewatch all of those videos.
So speaking of creators being unhappy, let's move on to Flappy Bird.
Good segue. Yeah, I had not heard about this until you were like, I want to talk about Flappy Bird tonight. Even if we don't do anything else, I want to talk about Flappy Bird. So let's talk about Flappy Bird.
Okay, so Flappy Bird, for those olds out there, may have just had their ears perk up. Flappy Bird was it one of the biggest, one of the first really big mobile games that really hit and got major news coverage?
I don't know about that per
se.
It had
all
a
over
moment.
The place for a while.
Yeah, it had a flash in the pan moment.
Well, the thing is, the history of Flappy Bird is intriguing. Basically, the creator saw what they unleashed on the world, felt guilty, and pulled the plug on it. Never mind the fact that they were getting, according to some reports, $50,000+ a day just in ad revenue.
Yeah.
Because they felt guilty about all the people getting addicted to it. And Flappy Bird is a very simple game where you have a bird that you touch the screen and it flaps its wings and does a little hop in the as it flies, and it's get as far as you can in a level while getting through legally distinct green pipes.
Yeah, legally distinct, definitely not Mario pipes.
Going through gaps in between the two, and get as far as you can. And when you, inevitably die because it's an endless. I guess endless runner would be the closest genre these days. When you get to the end of your life, an ad plays and you could play again.
Yeah.
Which, explaining it like that doesn't really sell the game that well. It's a dopamine hit, You get as far as you can. You try to get that high score. You slightly mistap, and you're back at the beginning, and you're ready to try it again.
That sounds so quaint now. Mobile games have...
And shitified?
Yeah, I was like the first phrase that popped into my head that I immediately rejected is "come so far." I guess you
No,
could say
no, they
that
haven't.
towards a huge pile of shit.
Uh, what was it? Monopoly Go that the developers tried to insert more gameplay, and the player base said no. We want to basically be able to spin to win more often.
Yep.
So it was Monopoly Go.
Yep, that was a news article from 4 or 5 months ago that we covered on the show. I remember that. Monopoly Go.
Yeah,
There might have been other games too, but like Monopoly Go was the one that I remember the article about.
yeah. So Flappy Bird is back, but not really. It's a crypto game wearing Flappy Bird skin suit. So essentially, from everything that I've been able to tell, is that the original creator, once he got rid of Flappy Bird and shut it down. Basically, let the copyright on it linger and run out, and a crypto bro has swooped in with a company and built Flappy Bird 2. Now with microtransactions and NFTs and Web 3.0 bullshit.
Yep.
And the original creator is not happy about it.
Nope.
He doesn't want anything to do with the game, but at the same time, making it very clear, I have anything to do with this game? Oh, and also, I hate crypto, or I do not support crypto. So yeah, kind of crazy, huh?
Yep. Good for him though. Good for him for like sticking to that principle.
Mm-hmm.
Because like he could, it's been a long time. A lot could have happened in this guy's life. He might. I think it's an opportunity for a payday.
According to this, 100 million people playing Flappy Bird in 2014.
100 million, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In 2014, making $50,000 a day in ad revenue, and they walked away from it.
Yeah, dude, I wouldn't walk away from that. I'd ride that money bag as far as it would go.
Yeah. The project leader, Michael Roberts, is connected to a crypto firm. So yeah, of course it is, right?
Yeah, of course. But good for this guy, for the original developer, for sticking to his principles. I don't think that this is gonna do any kind of numbers. There will be some people for sure who will be like, "Oh wow, Flappy Bird's back." Like, I would be naive to think that there would be no people. But the gameplay concept of Flappy Bird is so simple that there were a cajillion clones that released in the aftermath of Flappy Bird, in the wake of Flappy Bird. And they just fizzled out. And so I think there will be like a tiny resurgence. Oh, excuse me.
Well, here's also
a tiny resurgence of people going for it, and that's it.
Well, it's also going to get the crypto bros that latch onto these games to try to make the money that's hidden in the game, because there are people who are going to want to be in on the ground floor. The one NFT game that takes off.
Yeah,
I don't know if NFTs are a part of this, but crypto definitely is. It's just so scummy.
Well,
the only person that makes money on this is the person that puts out the game.
Yep, the person who puts up the game, and maybe a couple of like very early people who get into it. If there's a way that they can scam other people, then if you get in early,
influencers essentially,
then you'd be able to scam other people and get some money out of it. Didn't you say that this had Web 3.0 stuff in it?
Yeah, talking about Web 2.0, 3.0. Some reports or some of the articles are talking about how there's going to be blockchain and NFTs in it, and people could upload their own stuff and be part of the Flappy Bird IP. I didn't go too hard into some of the other articles because some of it is speculation.
Yeah.
So I tried to keep it a little bit cleaner. But yeah, it's just it's crazy.
Web 3.0 is interesting, not in a good way. Folding Ideas, a YouTube channel, a YouTube creator who I've also talked about on this channel numerous times, did a video. It's like 2.5 hours about Decentraland, which is like the biggest like Web 3.0 platform, and it is every bit as awful as you could imagine a VR exclusive, or maybe not exclusive, but a VR sort of primary space where the crypto bros run everything. It's awful. So thinking about like Flappy Bird integrating into Decentraland, hilarious.
Yeah, and then if you have fond memories of wasting time with Flappy Bird, also sad.
Yeah. I wonder if anybody has still got one of those iPhones that because after Flappy Bird shut down and was taken off of off of iTunes, there were people who sold their iPhones with Flappy Bird on it for hundreds, thousands. There were some that sold for thousands of dollars. I wonder if anybody has still got one of those. Like who's the guy or gal who kept the iPhone with Flappy Bird on it because they loved it so much? Honestly, I hope there's at least one of them out there. Like whoever that person is, living their best life. Like I hope it's somebody's dad who just really loves Flappy Bird and is completely disconnected from all the rest of this stuff. I hope that guy's living a good life, enjoying Flappy Bird on his iPhone from like 2010. I want his name to be George or Chuck. You get him,
Hank.
Chuck.
I don't know why Hank, but Hank.
Yeah. I'm now thinking of King of the Hill.
Actually wasn't even thinking of King of the Hill. Another, revival of a franchise, right?
Yeah. Boy, I'll tell you what. I liked King of the Hill. I always liked King of the Hill. But I never was like super duper invested. I didn't like the way that they ended the series. But, it had to come to an end at a certain point.
It was basically like almost a non-ending, wasn't it?
Yeah. There was like a couple of weird little reveals, but it was like everybody just like goes out to grill steaks and drink beer. Like I think the biggest reveal was that like Boomhauer was, I guess, spoilers for the ending of King of the Hill, which was from what, a decade or more ago.
Yeah.
But like Boomhauer, the kind of the dumbass redneck who had the speech impediment, turns out was secretly an undercover FBI agent that had been watching Dale for years because of his, prepper, anti-American kind of militia vibes. What we all thought like the Trump people were before they showed us how crazy they really are.
Oh boy, right?
Yeah. Oh my god, did you watch the debate?
Bits and pieces.
They're eating the cats and dogs, they're eating their pets.
Have you seen Songified, the debate?
I have not.
Oh, that might be
I honestly
post-credit stuff.
I honestly forgot Songify existed.
Well, I think I like the Biden-Trump one a little bit better because it deja vu, but worse.
Yeah.
And it's also Weird Al.
Yeah, the last time I watched anything from Songify was right after the 2016 election. Dark times. Granted, still dark times. Fucking 2 assassination attempts on former President Trump, both of which...
by his own party.
By his own party. Yeah. What was it you said the other day? I'm tired of living in interesting times.
Yes.
I agree with that. 100% agree. But anyways, we're getting way off topic of Flappy Bird and kind of wrapping up the show.
Yeah.
My hero, Chuck, out there, or Hank, playing Flappy Bird on his iPhone from 2010. Bob. But anyways, yeah, that does us on the show for tonight. A short episode, but we've got, I think, nearly an hour of Franken content. Plus, we did some chatting before we turned on Craig, just because we haven't got to talk verbally in a while.
Yeah, because it's been crazy for both of us.
Yep.
Hopefully things will settle down now.
I hope so. There are waves.
Especially being a little bit more fluid on recording times.
Yeah. So, hey, Rage, how can people contact us?
You could do so by emailing vglpodcast@gmail.com. drop it by the Discord, which I do realize that we do have a couple things over there in the or in the submission suggestions. I will clear out the bail bag next time. How about that?
Sounds like a winner to me.
Because yeah, we were already running a little late, and I think the Ubisoft one warrants some discussion.
Yeah, people in my non video game Discord thread like got into a huge like bitch session about Ubisoft, and I'm like, I've been saying it for years, but
and also so many layoffs,
so many. Yes, line must go up.
Mm-hmm.
Sacrifice as many humans on the altar of making line go up as needed. Repeat ad nauseum.
So we will catch up on that and sort that out next time. You could drop by the Discord, which a link to that is over at vglpodcast.podbean.com. And yeah, what about socials?
I was about to say, do you have any socials you want to provide, Rage? But you said it, so I'll go first. At JMA4707 on Twitter. At JMA4707 on Blue Sky. They have a desktop app now, which makes me use Blue Sky a little bit more. I'm just not generally on social media as much as I used to.
I mean, honestly, the same.
The best way to contact me is via the Discord, or Discord, like, send me a DM. Jim sent me a DM the other day. We had a quick back and forth chat about something. Actually, I need to respond to him because he was the last one who said something, and I haven't responded in a couple of days. What about you? Anything for you?
I mean, I'm really not active on social media these days either. You could contact me, GamingOCR, on Twitter, or drop by Steam Caffeine Rage over there if you wish to get my attention, or once again Discord as well.
Sweet. Yeah, the most active
social media just feels so narcissistic these days. I mean, more so lately than anything, I should say.
Yeah, the most active I've been on.
Constantly posts. Instead of like Googling something, she'll just ask her Facebook friends. It's like, oh god, Google. Right?
Yeah. Just use Google. Just a quick Google search. The most active I've been on social media recently is that one of the people I follow on Twitter in the BattleTech community has been doing like a head-to-head like bracket on a bunch of on the TROs, which is technical readout, which goes into like the nitty-gritty details of vehicles and mechs. And she's been doing like a head-to-head, like, what's your favorite? What do you like the most? So I was like participating in that for like 2 weeks. That's all my Twitter timeline is full of. That and the occasional like retweet of like Hassan Piker, if you or anyone listening knows who that is. He's a political, in case you don't, he's a political commentary guy on Twitch. Very knowledgeable. Seems to be like very knowledgeable. Very left-leaning political commentator who says the things that like I think all the time, but that aren't reflected in other news media because they're like improper things to say. He's really snarky. He yells a lot. But then it's like someone will come in and be like, "Hi, I'm new here. I have a question about this thing." And then you will watch him like very elegantly explain like a foreign policy position to someone. So I like it. Hassan Piker, I guess. Go check him out if you don't know who he is. He's got a YouTube channel for VODs and highlights. He streams live on Twitch 5 days a week. Anyways, where were we at? What were we saying?
I don't know at this point.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Log.
You gotta no. Shit. What's his name? Where's our music come from?
Kevin McLeod.
Yeah, there you go. There you
go. It's been a while.
Yeah, we're a little rusty. Stay with us.
And also a little sleepy.
Right.
Our lovely, lovely patrons have made this madness possible. Patreon.com/VGL podcast. And if you wish to check out the show notes or share the love, VGLpodcast.podbean.com. And we're also on your podcatcher of choice. Hopefully these days.
Yep.
On the ground by Kim McLeod. You can find his work over at Computech.com. And
As always, as his lovely music starts to roll across my voice. Bye-bye now.
See ya.
Bye-bye.